and welcome again. So we were discussing about the applications of dimensional analysis. So in our last video we have discussed the first application of dimensional analysis, which is converting a physical quantity from one system of unit into another. We will proceed in the similar manner and we will take two more applications of the dimensional analysis today. Right? The very first application, or which is the second application of dimensional analysis, is to check the dimensional consistency or accuracy of a physical quantity. So we may have some physical quantity. So with the method of dimensions, we can check whether the equation is consistent or not, or whether the given physical quantity placed in the formula is consistent or not. Consistent means whether it is correct or not. So to know about this application, let me take this simple example. There is a question just this relationship. We have to, here it is the question, we have to check the consistency of this equation, which is f into s, which is equal to half mv square minus half mu square. So very first thing, whenever you are given a question to check the consistency of some given equation, you have to write the dimensional formula or dimensions of each and every physical quantity involved in this formula, except the numerical values, just like half here, right? So this method makes us to check the consistency, or we can say accuracy of a dimensional equation. So there may be some relationship, just like work is equal to force into displacement, or pressure, it is equal to force, or we can say thrust per unit area. So you may be asked to check the consistency or accuracy of these equations, which we can directly check by substituting the values of dimensions, right? And there may be terms, equations just like this, which involve on one side more than one number of terms, which are being added or subtracted, just as we have here in this case on the right hand side. So that means each and every term involved in the equation should have the same dimensions. Only then the equation is dimensionally correct. So whenever we proceed, we discuss or we substitute the values of each and every physical quantity or fundamental physical quantity involved in the formula or in the given relation, and make calculation to see whether the dimensions of each and every term involved in the expression is same or not. If it is same, if the dimensions of each and every term involved in the equation are same, or we can say equal, then the equation is dimensionally correct, right? So let us substitute here the values is for force. So solution begins with this formula f into s, which you can write. Okay, so f is nothing but the force. So dimensions for the force are m l t minus 2 into dimensions of s. S is nothing but displacement, which is length. So dimensions for the displacement, or we have substituted here L, and it is half. However, while we check the dimensional consistency, we need not to involve these numbers here. So we can drop their values. We simply check the dimensions. Okay, so it is m here, so it's had dimensions, which is written as just like this, into this is v here. V is the velocity, so it has dimensions L t minus 1, and it is getting squared. Minus, this is a number half, so we write the dimensions of m only here, so it is m into, again this is initial velocity, whether it is initial velocity, it is the final velocity, dimensions are same because it is a velocity, so it is lt minus 1, which is getting squared on. So we just simplify each and every term and check whether we get the dimensions to be same or not. So let us begin with the dimensions on the left hand side. So whenever we multiply it by this L, so it has to be added to the L only, right? It has to be solved with the L only. So it is L here in this dimension of force, L has power 1 and this also has power 1, so it becomes L to the power 2. So it becomes mL to T minus 2. So these are the dimension on the left hand side, and on the right hand side each and every term should have the same dimension, right? So from here it is m into, it is getting squared, so it becomes L square and T minus 2. So whenever we just square it, so it just takes this form. So it becomes m L square T minus 2. So we can together write it right here. So it is m L square T minus 2. So the first term on the right hand side also get the same dimensions. Minus, it is m here. It is again, when it get squared on, it becomes L square T minus 2. So we see that each and every term involved in the expression, which is either being added or subtracted, each and every term is getting the same dimensions. And because dimensions are same on the both sides of the equation, that means the given expression is correct dimensionally, right? So with this method, this is how you can check the consistency or dimensional consistency or accuracy of a given equation or a physical expression. You can also check the accuracy for this relationship. P is equal to, this is a thrust per unit area, or you can also check the relationship just like V is equal to U plus AT. You can check the dimensional consistency of these equations, right? Next application, with the method of dimensions, we can also derive the expression for some given physical quantity, which depends upon some given parameters, right? So next application is, which is third application, to derive, we can derive the expression or formula for given physical quantity which depends upon some given parameters. Just as in this question, we are asked to derive the expression for the centripetal force F, which is known by or which depends upon the mass m, velocity v and radius r. So centripetal force is the force which acts towards the center whenever an object moves in a circular path. So that force always keeps the object bound towards the center, right? So direction of that, so that force which is directed towards the center of a uniform circular motion, it is called as a centripetal force. So here it is asked that we have to derive the expression for F, which depends upon the mass of the object which is having uniform circular motion, its velocity, linear velocity, and the radius of that circular track over which it is moving. So let us begin with, so we take that these all terms are included in this expression for the centripetal force or whatever we are given here. So we take that this F, it is equal to or it is proportional to, there may be some constant, so it will be equal to m, which is raised to the power a. We don't know anything about the dimensions of m, v or r. So we take the dimensions of m to be a, the dimensions of v to be b, the dimension of r to be c. And if we have more quantities, we also represent the dimensions of those physical quantities in this manner. So that means this centripetal force, it may be placed equal to some constant into m to the power a, v to the power b and r to the power c, just like this. So this is the method how we derive the expression for any given physical quantity which depends upon some given parameters. Here are the parameters on which this physical quantity depends, which is asked in the question. So now there is simple thing. We place the dimensions of each and every quantity involved in this formula. Here it is force, we write the dimensions of the force. It is mass, here we write the dimensions of mass. Velocity, we write the dimensions of velocity, and so for the dimensions of r. which is length, nothing. And k, it is a constant, we don't know anything about it, so we leave it as it is. Okay. Now this f, the dimensions of f are nothing but m l t minus 2. It is equal to k into m. The dimensions of m are nothing but m power a into dimensions of v are l t minus 1 power b into r. The dimensions of r nothing but the dimensions of length. So it is power c. So we just simplify on the right hand side. So what we get? On the left hand side there is nothing to solve. So we write it as it is. On the right hand side it becomes m to the power a. It becomes L to the power b. Whenever power is solved on, it becomes L to the power b, t to the power minus b. So for L, this L here it is power c and it is power b. So it becomes L power b plus c. The powers of L and c both will get added. Into t, it has power minus b. So this is the form we are getting of the given formula. So because there is a sign of equality, so it simply means the dimensions of the physical quantity on left hand side, it will be equal to dimensions of the physical quantity on the right hand side, or each and every term will have the same dimension. That means the dimensions of m, it will be same on the both sides. The dimensions of L, it will be same on the both sides, and so the dimensions of T, they will be same on the both sides. Right? So let us begin with comparing both sides. So whenever we compare both sides of these two equations, or we can say comparing dimensions on both sides. So for m, what are the dimensions here? 1, and on the right hand side they are a. So that means a is equal to 1. A has got the value 1. And for L, it is 1 on the left hand side, and on the right hand side L has got b plus c. This we have to solve. And for T, on the left hand side it is minus 2, and on the right hand side it is minus b. So that means b is equal to minus 2. So that means b is equal to minus 2. So therefore you can give these equations 1, 2, 3. So therefore from this, it is 1 here, because minus 2 is equal to minus b. So therefore b is equal to 1 here. So when we substitute the value of b equal to 1 here, c comes out to be 0. Therefore from 2, c comes out to be 0. So that means dimensions of m, which is a, it is 1. Dimension of v, which is b, it is 1. 2. It should be equal to 2. And dimensions for r, which is, it should come out 1 then. Minus 1, Whenever we substitute the value of b to be 2 in this equation, the c comes out to be minus 1, because 2 goes to the other side, it becomes negative, and 1 minus 2 simply means minus 1. So here we get the values of all the dimensions of these physical quantities involved here. So therefore now we can write the expression for the f, which is equal to k m to the power a, which is 1 here, into v to the power b, which is 2 here, into r to the power c, which is minus 1 here. So whenever we rearrange these terms, so it gets m v square, and r goes in the denominator, divided by r. So this is the expression for the centripetal force we were interested in. So this is how we make use of the method of dimensions in different ways, in converting the units from one form to other, in checking the dimensional consistency or accuracy or correctness of a given equation or formula, or we can also derive the expression for any given physical quantity by the method of dimensions. But this dimensional analysis is not always applicable or gives correct information. It has some limitations. So what limitations the dimension analysis have, we will discuss one by one. So very first limitation is that in a given expression for a physical quantity, if there is any dimensionless constant, a constant which does not have any kind of dimensions, the value of that dimensionless constant cannot be determined. So value of a dimensionless constant in a formula or expression can't be determined. So with the method of dimensions, we cannot determine the value of that dimensionless constant. Just we have in this expression of this is Fs is equal to half mv square minus half mv square u square. So we don't have the method to find out the value of these constants. So these are already numerical values half, but there may be some constant values whose dimensions, which cannot be determined dimensional because they have no dimensions. Okay. Another shortcoming of this dimension analysis is that it fails to derive the sum relationship, just like S is equal to ut plus half a t square, or expression just like v square minus u square is equal to 2as. So such relationship cannot be derived by the method of dimensions. The next limitation is that it gives no information about functions like trigonometric function, exponential functions, logarithmic functions, etc. So such kind of functions cannot be defined on the basis of dimensions. So dimension analysis gives no information about these kind of functions which are involved in the expression. It also fails to derive the relationship involving more than these. Till now we have discussed that the dimensions involved in a physical quantity are three: m, the mass, length L, and time t. So if there is a physical quantity which has more than these fundamental physical quantities involved in that expression, then the method of dimensions is cannot be used, and there is the shortcoming of that dimensional analysis. So fails to derive expressions involving more than three fundamental physical quantities, which are m, L, and t, three fundamental physical quantities, right? And another limitation is that we have checked we can check the expression for the dimensional accuracy or consistency of an equation. But one equation which is dimensionally correct, it may not be actually a correct relationship. Just like dimensionally, let me just write it first. Dimensionally correct relation or formula may not be a true or correct relation. Let me give an example. This expression, which is S is equal to ut plus at square, this expression is dimensionally consistent. Dimensionally it is correct, but we know that the actual expression for the displacement, it is ut plus half at square. So it is okay that this equation is dimensionally correct, but this is not an exact, or we can say true relationship for the displacement. So these are some limitations where the dimensional analysis is not able to be explaining all these things. So this is about dimensional analysis. So we have discussed what are the dimensions, what is a dimensional formula, and what are the dimensions of the fundamental physical quantities. And then we have applied the dimensional analysis in three ways: conversion of the physical quantity from one system to another, to derive the expression for the given physical quantity, or third one, to check the dimensional consistency or accuracy of a given expression. That is all for now. Thank you.